What if everything you thought was true about anger turned out to be a lie? What if your beliefs around how you master and express your emotions are so faulty that they're actually creating problems for you? My name is Julie Christiansen, and I want to talk to you today about taming your dragon. I am a registered psychotherapist in private practice and an author, a speaker, a communication expert, and an executive coach. And I want to share with you today some strategies on emotional mastery that will change the way you think about anger forever.
To
Now,
keep him
most of
coming.
you have heard
As
that
he
when you're
nurses
feeling
his
angry,
drink,
you should take
he
a breath,
plots ways he can
you
ruin
should
Avery's
walk
career without
away,
ending.
you
After an
should think
argument with
carefully
her
about how
partner,
you
she
speak,
retreats
but
into the
there's
bathroom,
so
locking the
much
door behind
more
her.
that I would
She
like to
runs a
share with
hot,
you today,
foamy
and
bath
I just want to
that
get right
muffles
to
her
it.
sobs as water
Sometimes when
fills the
we
tub.
think about anger and we personify it or we try to give anger a personality, we come up with these images of fire-breathing dragons, these ancient dinosaurs that have the power to destroy with their breath. Dragons are depicted as raging, violent beings intent on destruction, but they don't really think about how their actions are going to impact the world around them. I mean, they are at the top of the mythical food chain. Nobody kills a dragon. Dragons kill everyone else. So when we think about dragon-like behavior, we think of something that is violent, aggressive, dangerous. Yes, we can learn to harness that dino brain, that reptilian brain, and tame the dragon that resides in all of us. You see, when we are experiencing anger, it is something that is natural. It comes to us just the way happiness, sadness, fear come to us. When I was studying all of this, I didn't realize how angry a person I actually was until I started learning about anger and what it was. And I realized that in my teenage years, I had adopted a dragon like personality because I was tired. I was tired of being compliant. I was tired of people pleasing. I was tired of always sacrificing myself in order to make other people feel okay while I was dying inside. And because of that, I began to get depressed. I was very anxious. I started having suicidal thoughts. And so this information, this work that I want to share with you today, comes from my personal experience as well as my professional experience, over 30 years of working in the mental health space. And I tell you, when you learn to harness your dragon, life becomes better in almost every way. Communication is easier, problem solving is a breeze. You are able to put your emotions where they belong and express them in a way that is safe and appropriate for everyone involved, and you will achieve better outcomes. So let's talk about this a little bit. First question I want to ask you is, what makes the dragon? What is it that makes up the dragon? Is it the fire? Is it the scales? You know, those scales that ripple and prickle when a dragon is angry? Is it the claws that can shred people to bits? Is it the roar? What is it that creates the dragon? Or is the dragon just a creature with a set of attributes, right? Those attributes are the fire, the scales, the claws, the roar, but none of those things make the dragon. The dragon is a creature using what it has been gifted to express itself. What if that's true for us as well? I want to explain a little bit about what anger is and what it isn't. Let's take a look at these two charts that you see on the screen. On the left, what you see is an iceberg that describes anger as the thing that you see on the top. So you see anger on the top, and all of these other emotions are lying beneath the surface. Now, I want you to think about it for a moment. When you see anger, what do you typically see? You see yelling or you hear yelling. You might hear swearing. You might see aggressive behavior, intimidating behavior, angry expressions on the face. You might notice that people get louder than they normally do when they're trying to communicate. They may impose on someone's personal space. They may punch walls, they may drive quickly, they may slam doors, all those sorts of things. We see that and we interpret that as anger. And then we assume that there's some other emotion that is informing what we see. But here's the truth. I want you to look at the iceberg of behavior. What you see above the waterline are actually the behavioral responses to emotion. That's all you're seeing. It's observable, it's measurable. Underneath is a host of various emotions, including anger, Now, I want you to think about this, the fact that not all anger is visible. There are people who hold their anger in, who internalize it, who smile when they're dying inside, like I used to do. When you hear about serial killers or the person who goes postal in their work environment, what's the thing that they say usually? Oh, they were so quiet. They kept themselves. They didn't say much. We never saw the rage that they were harboring inside, right? So what's more important, what we see on the surface or what we feel inside? Now, I want to talk about 4 contributors to anger. Okay, there are 4 contributing factors that encourage us or kind of spark that angry feeling. Number 1 is when your rules are broken. Someone cuts in front of you in a lineup. That's a broken rule. You wait your turn. That's the rule, right? Somebody speeds on the highway or they're veering in and out of traffic. They are breaking the rules of the road. That might make us feel some kind of way. And then the second is when boundaries are violated, when someone touches a pregnant tummy without asking permission, when someone touches our hair, right? Without our consent, that's a violated boundary. When your mom reads your diary, that is a boundary violation. So when our boundaries are violated, we're going to feel a range of emotions from irritated to frustrated to upset to mad to angry to furious. They are all on the same continuum of anger. The third contributor to anger is when our needs or our expectations are not met. Then we can often feel frustrated and angry. And lastly, when we are trying to attain a goal and that effort is interfered with, or it's blocked, or there are barriers, when our goal attainment is thwarted, we tend to feel some kind of way about that. Now, when that happens, when our anger or frustration response is triggered, here's what happens in the brain. We've got 2 parts here, and I want you to make a fist with your hand, okay? So make that fist, and I want you to imagine that the outside of your fist is that upstairs brain, the cerebral cortex. This portion of the brain is responsible for higher order thinking, emotional mastery, self-direction, self-regulation, among other things, decision making. And then under here, where my thumb is that downstairs brain, the limbic system. And the limbic system is responsible for motivation and emotion and survival and instinctual behavior. And when our frustration signal is triggered by one of those 4 contributors that I mentioned, it is the downstairs brain that is activated. And when the downstairs brain is activated, the upstairs brain takes a hike. It takes a hike. It shuts down. It's still working, but it's sort of working on reserve. It's not working at full capacity because the downstairs brain says there is a threat to my existence or to my progress, and I must address the threat. And it's instinctual, and it starts a cascade of all sorts of things physiologically and neurochemically in the body. We cannot control that, but there is a way to shut down the downstairs brain and re-engage the upstairs brain so that we can make better decisions and create better outcomes. And that's what I want to share with you next. Before we do that, though, I would like you to do this little worksheet. And I want you to do this so that you can see the connection between what you feel and what you do, that feelings and behaviors are not the same thing. So just fill this in your mind, or if you want to scribble it down on a piece of paper, go ahead. When I feel angry, I do something. Then immediately I feel another emotion, and then later I feel something else. So an example might be when I feel angry, I throw things. Immediately I feel powerful. Later I feel ashamed. Or it might be something like when I feel angry, I yell, and immediately I feel a release, and then later I feel sorry. So whatever that might be, you fill that in, and I hope that you can see that when we are feeling angry, we usually do something immediately to address the feeling because that feeling is uncomfortable. But what happens then is we feel that immediate satisfaction, but later, when we see the consequences of that initial action, we feel another emotion, which typically is some form of remorse for what we did in the first place. So, how do we work around this? So, take a look at this thought matrix. Let's start at the top with the yellow arrow, and let's call that the activating event. So, an activating event occurs, and we're immediately thinking about what happened and what it means. The way we interpret that activating event will inform the feelings that we have about that event. And those feelings will inform our choices and our actions, which eventually lead to our outcomes. Now, what typically happens is that when we feel angry, frustrated, sad, disappointed, whatever it is, because those feelings are so uncomfortable, the brain's instinct, the downstairs brain's instinct is to do something immediate that will eliminate or alleviate that feeling. This is called a quick fix. When we do something to just make the feeling go away, we get that immediate satisfaction, but typically those choices lead us to unsatisfactory outcomes. And so, if we want to generate better outcomes, we need to shift our thoughts. It starts in your thought life. And so you change the way you think, the way you make meaning of the event that's happened, and you immediately start thinking about what is my desired outcome? What is my desired outcome? And when you start focusing on the outcome you desire, you are more likely to go there because your feelings will shift and you will make more informed choices and follow through on those choices. I hope that makes sense. How do you do that? Because I said your downstairs brain hijacks your upstairs brain when anger kicks in. The first thing you need to do is reset your nervous system. And the easiest way for you to do that is through the breath. So you take a deep breath in, you hold that breath for a moment, allow the oxygen that you just inhaled and filled your lungs up with to circulate through your body and through your brain, right? That helps to reactivate your frontal lobes and your upstairs brain. And then you slowly exhale. And as you exhale slowly, as though you're blowing through a straw, what you feel is all of this, it relaxes down. So let's do that again. A deep breath in, hold, and exhale. You literally feel your body just starting to do this. And as your body is doing this, your central nervous system, which has been activated by the downstairs brain, begins to calm down. And as it calms down, your upstairs brain kicks in and says, let's figure this out. And so once you've gotten there, the next thing that you want to do is you want to use this process. And this decision-making model is the secret sauce to taming your dragon. Think, then say, and then ask. The heavy lifting happens as you think through what's happening, because as I said, in that thought matrix, it all begins and ends with the way you think about things. So these are the questions that you want to ask. What is happening? Study the facts of the case. Don't just talk about your interpretation. Just go back and go, this happened, that happened, then this happened. What does it mean? And be careful how you make meaning, because the meaning that you assign to the event will determine how you feel about it. So you want to be as objective as possible when processing the meaning. Next question, how do I feel? How do I feel about it? Am I mad? Am I frustrated? Am I disappointed? What's going on here in my heart space? And then the next question is maybe the most important, and that is, what is my desired outcome? What do I want to see happen? How would I like this situation to be resolved? And then what options do I have to obtain that desired outcome? And then you want to weigh the pros and the cons. What's the best thing that can happen if I do this thing? What's the worst thing that can happen if I do this thing? And then choose the best possible response to the situation. The last question is, what's the lifetime value of this event? If there's no lifetime value, do you even have to do anything about it at all? Probably not. That's a good time to walk away. But if it's a loved one, a family member, a coworker, a boss, you need to work that through. And so you need to choose a different response that responds or that corresponds to the lifetime value of the event. Your next step is to say something. Approach the person who can best help you solve the problem. Because, folks, this is not anger management. This is anger resolution. State clearly how you feel and why you feel that way. And then you're going to ask them to help you solve that problem. Invite engagement in that dialogue. You want to ask questions that bring that other person into the problem solving instead of excluding them from it. So those questions look like this. How can we work together to ensure that this type of problem doesn't occur again? What do you need from me? Here's what I need from you. Is there a way for us to collaborate so we can work smarter instead of harder, right? So we want to ask questions that engage in problem-solving dialogue. And let me just say this, that as you're going through the conversation, the other party may say something that doesn't sound so good, doesn't feel so good. You will have to go through that TSA system over and over again until you either agree to disagree or you reach a mutually agreeable solution. So in summary, anger is a basic emotion. We all experience it. It is universally experienced and recognized. We feel angry when our rules are broken, our boundaries are violated, our expectations are not met, or our attempts to achieve our goals are thwarted. Our thoughts inform our feelings, our choices, our actions, and eventually our outcomes. And so we need to be careful how we think and how we choose if we want to get the outcomes that we're really going for. Angry dragon-like responses are driven by your downstairs brain. Taming your dragon requires activating or reactivating the upstairs brain and intentionally working towards problem solving the thing that caused your anger in the first place. And how do we do that? We use breath work to reset your central nervous system. You use TSA to process the problem and to address it with the person who can help you to solve the problem. And you make choices based on your desired outcomes rather than trying to fix your feelings. That is how you tame your dragon. So I would love for you to stay in touch with me. Here's my connections. I have a new course that is coming out in the spring of this year. I want you to look for the QR code in my ad. Anyone who has seen this course and wants to participate in triggering the dragon, look for the QR code in my ad. And if you click on that QR code, it will take you to a landing page. And if you use the code word dragon, that's dragon all caps, then this will get you 60% off of this course. This is a huge discount. Again, click the QR code in my ad and use the code word dragon to receive your 60% discount. And please stay in touch with me via my social media and look for the news of my new book, The Rise of Rage, which will be released by Broadleaf Books in January of 2024. Thanks so much for watching.